Is Sombra competitive? Let's break down that question. By that, I mean, where will she fit into the meta of Season 2 and Season 3? And including, later on, we'll talk about the professional meta, which personally I believe and others also believe is a completely separate meta that's in a sort of a closed system, but we'll get on to that later. Recently, from the filming date of this video, Sombra was taken out of the PTR. PTR was shut down, and she was put into the normal vanilla patch of Overwatch 2 days ago. And the biggest question is this idea of where does Sombra fit in now? She's a disruptor. She's coming right in at the end of Season 2 when people are literally so comfortable with what the original meta has proven. People are coming back in right now to see if they can push that SR goal they wanted to and they set for themselves at the beginning of the year. People are having trouble doing that because most people are, insta-picking Sombra at the beginning of their matches. So it's kind of tossing up the meta in ways that people were expecting and people weren't expecting. What we're going to do is, my style of journalism is what we're trying to do is, let's deconstruct first Sombra as a character, and then we'll deconstruct her place as a DPS character in the meta, and then we'll just toss on all the sprinkles on after that, and we'll see what we can come up with. Not necessarily a definitive conclusion of where she might be, but sort of a predictive analysis and consultation, and to see where she might fit in the future. And it might be right, it might be wrong, but that's the whole point of analysis, right? So the way Blizzard introduced Sombra into the patched vanilla meta is her release of her character was similar to the release of Anna. Similarities being underpowered, but playable. Underpowered, playable, yet no sense of place. There's two sort of sides competing to this perspective. It's one that Sombra needs to be buffed. Her weapons need to be buffed. She needs to be more that carry DPS type, or else her place in the meta might not be there at all. She might fall to the bottom tier with those Genjis, with those tracers, to where it's very, very situational in a sense. On the other end, it favors time, patience, and practice, saying, you can master Sombra, you can carry as Sombra, you can get those DPS hits with Sombra with time and practice. And I think what Blizzard was trying to do is sort of push people towards that sort of thought system, with the ability to now queue with a more serious quick play where you can only solo pick one character and so on. But that is a whole set of problems in itself we can touch on later, but maybe in another video. On the other end, so she needs this DPS buff. Let's look at her weapon for a bit here. Her SMG is a modified Soldier 76 rifle. It puts out the same amount of DPS, however, it has less accuracy and is more accurate at closer range. The clip size is relatively small, and it's more... It's a high-risk, high-reward sort of weapon, paired with her other capabilities like her invisibility dash, her blinking ability, and her hacking ability. She's more of a flanker, assassin-type disruptor. What most people are saying she needs a buff for is because the reason most people play DPS in the meta right now is to carry. Playing a McCree or a Farah, people who can get that gold DPS, people who can get that gold eliminations, gold objective kills. Sombra doesn't necessarily play towards that type of style of the competitive DPS meta right now. Why? Because she's much like a hybrid support in a sense, much like Zarya or even, this is kind of reaching, but Zenyatta. But she has elements not hard-lined in either. She has 1 foot in DPS, and she also has 1 foot in defense, almost in a sense. Her ability her hack ability is able to disable characters in their offensive capability, but not necessarily kill them. The timing of having to kill a character with that short burst of SMG fire, 1v1 DPS, those challenges heavily depend on getting that hack off, heavily depend on getting behind them. It's a high risk, high reward in a sense. And a lot of people are not comfortable with that type of play style in competitive. Especially when it's high stakes in a sense, especially here at the end of season 2. People are not comfortable with people who are solo queuing, picking that Sombra, because intuitively, no one is good at Sombra right now, but everyone is good at her counters. Everyone's great at that Winston. Everyone's great at that Junkrat, or even Symmetra. Going back to buffing Sombra, a lot of the discussion sort of hinges around the idea of borrowing some of the characteristics from Tracer's machine pistols, having them be more forgiving, having them be able to output more DPS. The punish factor for not getting that kill for going those 1v1 DPS challenges is high. You're either gonna get it and you're gonna own it, or you're gonna fail and you're gonna die. And then there goes a, pick and push strategy or pick and hold, right? That's another minute or two off the clock that your team is behind on the team count, on the player count, and they're charging up their ults. Let's talk about the DPS challenges in 1v1. Pharah will always almost 100% outrange her, unless the timing, of course, is correct. And just, that would necessarily be a lot of putting on the field. It's not necessarily a skill you can beat up to build up. It's something that you kind of see an opportunity, you're going to have to take it. When Pharah's on the ground, she doesn't have her boost and she doesn't see you. Like one direct hit from her rocket, and maybe even just a splash from that rocket, you're done. McCree, if McCree sees you, you're done. If he hears you blink in behind you, or if he hears you even start that hack, all he has to do is toss down his flashbang, fan the hammer, roll forward, fan the hammer, and you're done. Again, it's very, very designed towards the mastery of her character to even be viable. It's, if there are going to be masters of Sombra, there'd be players that would be fun and exciting to watch and play. Like the pro Genjis out there, sometimes just watching their feed on a pro match is just incredible. Their play style and seeing how they're able to get behind characters, pull in that quick DPS, pull in and pull out, and do those high risk type plays. And 9 out of 10 times when they go to bat, they get a kill. And that's what's important, building up that RBI, building a sense of security for your team to say, okay, it's a safe Sombra pick because 9 out of 10 times she gets the kill, she doesn't die, she's building up her ult, and that'll help us the team out. Speaking of Genji, most people consider the matchup between Sombra and Genji as a 50-50. Whoever sees each other first, whoever is able to bait the other's abilities first, whoever can survive the longest, in a sense. If you're Sombra and you can bait Genji with his reflect, get that out of the way, not take any health loss. Even if he does charge, he'll still have some health left. The whole idea here is to get him down in that one burst of fire, because that reload time is a little unforgiving, and it's just more time for the Genji to escape, or more time for another teammate to come in and focus you and to get rid of you. We've talked already about how the DPS handicap, by handicap, I mean, if you see players in competitive season 2 and season 3, they're picking that Sombra. It's hard to even empathize with that person, because obviously it's not a team-focused pick. It's not considering the team. It's considering what they have in their own personal idea of their ability as Sombra and their confidence to pick Sombra and be confident in it to win. And it's very difficult to even prove that to your other teammates, especially if you're solo queuing. You can say, I've had this many hours as Sombra, I played the PTR, but it's very nebulous. You know, if it's just numbers, it's hard to see that, which is why a lot of people say if you do pick Sombra, if you do want to play competitive Sombra, if you want to build her as a main DPS character carry for you, it's better to do that with at least a 3Q. Speaking of 3Qs, a lot of the major builds around Sombra involve that 3-player queue. You can have that half the team sort of support Sombra and her ability to build up her ult, her EMP. She can combine that with Zarya. You know, Zarya drop her black hole, or I don't know exactly what it's called, but Zarya can drop her black hole. Sombra drop her EMP, disables Zenyatta's ability to put up his shield, or his ult, Reinhardt's shield. And if you can catch 2 or 3 players in that, you can have a diva come in, bust her ult, and then, you know, that's the point. You know, that's pushing the payload to the next point, because that's 3 out of 5. You can just pick off the other 2 later, and then when the whole team regroups and comes back, you'll have some ults built up for the next push. It's a very, very effective way to win a match. However, again, it's high risk, high reward. You know, if it doesn't work, that's half your team out of commission. If someone went ahead and picked a solid first round pick, DPS, I mean, McCrees are everywhere, Farahs are everywhere. That's a solid first round pick. And your chances of winning that first push or that first attempt, if you first round pick Sombra, is very much against you, even if you have that 3Q built up, because in a way the other team doesn't have to change anything to continue to stop that Sombra. At that point, you're trying to force Sombra. You're trying to force your skill at being an expert at Sombra against what you call a hard counter. You know, most people consider Sombra to gravitate towards the counter pick, that flex DPS pick, the one that comes in when it's unexpected. Let's say, you know, most people, for example, Genji would be picked if there's a Bastion up on the field, just to get up on him and just get that reflect and get him out of the way and force the other team to flex pick some other character, and then of course respond with your own, and hopefully buying time for you to push, buying time for you to cap that point. A lot of that sort of weakness from Sombra, of her not being able to be that first pick DPS, you know, solid role, is her just general gameplay style. A lot to get into more specifics. One of the biggest things that people continue to harp about is that after she has her invisible sprint, she tends to just announce her presence. And by announcing that presence and saying, you know, I forgot what she actually says. It's like, I'm here, you know, I'm right behind you. It it defeats the entire aspect of what her play style is. You know, I mean, she can't do anything while she's invisible, and while she's invisible, she's vulnerable. But then again, she's even more vulnerable by being visible. You know, when she says, look at me, I'm here, I'm trying to hack you, look at me here, I'm trying to burst DPS my SMG before you notice. And it gives the other team almost that split second. If they know what they're doing, and by now they should know what they're doing, that Sombra's behind me, I gotta dodge out of there, she's gonna try and stun me. But if I can get my shit together, I can challenge her, especially if it's a DPS. So as a DPS character and challenging other DPS characters, Sombra won't be able to hold that front line carry position, you know, even with the flanking position. By going back around, what you'll be facing are healers, and if the healers are being played correctly, you'd have to be careful. Still, it's still a high risk, high reward, because there might be a Roadhog who'll just hook you and you're done. You'll have to blink in, you know, disable that mercy, get that burst fire, and just get the hell out, you know, and have your team understand what you just did and take advantage of that. Team play is so essential with Sombra. She is not a solo 1v1 or a solo queue character to try and carry your team to victory like what the normal meta is right now. If you're a solo player in competitive, you must carry. You know, don't be that person who can support. You know, go for that insta-pick DPS play because those are the ones that change the game. Anyone can be Lucio and stand in the back. You know, I consider myself a Lucio main, and I'm pretty great at being Lucio, to be honest. But rarely, you know, my influence on the game is not as strong as it would be as if I played a strong DPS character with this type of if I was as skilled at that DPS character as I am with Lucio, I could change the game, and I could see my rank climb like nobody's business.